Welcome to Premier League predictions, and like normal, I'm going to be predicting all 10 games of Game Week 21, and there are a couple of huge games in that list there. If we move this out of the side for a second, those games are Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool. I mean, if you think about that game, that's a title race game. We've also got a London derby between Tottenham and Arsenal, but really, that game is probably second best to this title race clash of Nottingham Forest and Liverpool. So we'll get rid of that game. But after I do predict all of the games, including that one that I just pushed away, I will be giving you my goal of Game Week 20, and I'll be seeing how well I did in my last week predictions to see how many points I got and how many I got correct. Premier League predictions time. Starting off on the Tuesday night, it's at Stamford Bridge. It's Chelsea versus AFC Bournemouth. And this game is going to be a close game. You look at these two teams in the league table, and they're not too far apart. Bournemouth, they won it against Everton. I mean, you're thinking of Everton, and some big sides have dropped points against Everton. Like Chelsea, for example, like the Gunners, for example, have dropped points with a 0-0 draw. It nearly was a 0-0 draw, but it was a wonderful super sub goal by David Brooks. Honestly, it was a great first time goal, and Kirke's a great cross. And overall, Bournemouth, you completely deserve the win there. Bournemouth, it's going to be a tight game, but Chelsea, they are dropping points after points. They drew 1-1 with Crystal Palace. In my opinion, Crystal Palace is always a hard game for any team, and they haven't won for a while. But I feel like despite Bournemouth doing pretty well, they draw a lot, Bournemouth. And I think between these two sides, I really cannot split them, and I would want to go down the middle. And can I say, this is going to be an end-to-end game in this game, 100%, because Bournemouth creates so many shots. But I feel like at Stamford Bridge, with a break of Premier League football, I know they've got Morecambe, but they've got the squad depth to fill in for that game, and it's only Morecambe, should be easy. With that break for Chelsea, for Enzo Maresca to get the side on the right tracks, I think it's a good time to face Bournemouth. It's not exactly Bournemouth have been absolutely battering their opponents. Bournemouth have always kept their games quite tight. Chelsea want Champions League football, they have to win this game. And I think they will. With this squad having abundance of talent, Chelsea will win this. At home, I've got a feeling they're going to win this 2-1 facing Bournemouth. But you know what, Bournemouth? You're playing amazing. And prove me wrong again, like you did against Everton. Actually don't, because I actually want to get some points this week. Moving over to the London Stadium, it's West Ham United versus Fulham. And you're probably thinking, surely this is a win for the Cottagers. But if you think about it, West Ham United, I was really impressed with the 4-5 games before. They got this 2 losses with Man City and Liverpool. I was impressed. I don't see them winning it against Fulham because, number one, Fulham are a really exciting team and they play some fluent, great attacking football, and they are a better side at the moment against West Ham. And West Ham do not have Jared Bowen. Those are all fair cases for Fulham winning this. But at the London Stadium, home advantage for West Ham. West Ham has managed to get a good point against Bournemouth, which I would say is a very similar side to the Cottagers, another exciting team. They've proved it that they can get results against teams like Fulham. I've seen some quality signs from West Ham, even without Jared Bowen. I don't think they played that bad against Man City. They played terrible against Liverpool, but against Man City, they put up a good shift. And considering Fulham have dropped points against Ipswich Town, which are lower down on the table, against Southampton, which is lower down on the table, not so long ago, they got battered by Wolves 4-1. So you can definitely see West Ham definitely can get something, especially at the London Stadium. And they proved that they can create chances without Jared Bowen. Although if Jared Bowen was there, they probably could have maybe been a bit clinical in front of goal. But he's not here again. But with the likes of Kudus creating the chances, with the likes of Füllkrug, which has actually scored again. But with Füllkrug, I think they're going to be able to score and get a point against Fulham. With all that said, I think it's going to be a draw. 1-1 between West Ham and the Cottagers. Moving over to the G-Tech Community Stadium, it's Brentford versus Manchester City. And Manchester City, are they back? Well, I'm going to say no. They did win the last 2 games against Leicester City, against West Ham United, and those were very good wins. And they played well, but I don't think they played perfect. I don't think they played like the usual Man City that we used to know. But they are playing better. Well, you can obviously see that by just looking at the results. But now they're going to the GTEC Community Stadium, where Brentford, they won at 5-0 against Southampton. I was shocked that they would batter Southampton because I thought they have been dreadful in the last few games. But against Southampton, that completely stopped. But you have to remember, it is against Southampton, the easiest team possible to play against, who are in last. So it's nothing too big to brag about because it is the easiest team. And Man City are a much better team than Southampton, especially with the momentum and happiness that's going to be with Man City, and they're being much more clinical and they're getting wins in games. And the fact that at the GTEC Community Stadium, Brentford have lost the last 2 games at the GTEC Community Stadium, and this season they don't do very well against, the big 6, and Man City at the moment are in 6th, so they're part of that. I can definitely see Man City getting a win, although I think it's going to be close because Brentford's attack, we've seen it against Southampton, we've seen it for the last 2-3 years. It is threatening. That is such a good attack. You know the players I'm talking about. Brian Mbeumo, Wissa, Kevin Jada, he's got potential to be world class. And especially with Man City still not properly back to their normal performing selves, and the fact that even against West Ham, I thought they made a few mistakes, giving away the ball in dangerous areas. If they do that against Brentford are definitely going to capitalise. And they're going to be able to get 2 goals, Brentford. But Man City, with the momentum and the happiness that they've got, they're going to win this 3-2 away from home. And Brentford are going to keep up this losing streak at the GTEC. Now, on to the biggest game of the week. It's at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest versus Liverpool. Crazy to think this is a possible title race matchup. I mean, it is. Nottingham Forest, they're just 6 points away from Liverpool. Liverpool just dropped points against Man United. And you know what? I don't think Liverpool performed as good as they normally do. Especially Salah. He did get a goal, but it was from a penalty. And overall, Man United played well and Liverpool struggled. But still, there were still some outstanding performers, such as McAllister in the middle. But Trent, I'm pretty sure he's rumored to go to Real Madrid. He had a bit of a howler against Manchester United, didn't he? Giving away the ball like that. But I'm sure it's just a one-off game. In my opinion, he's been superb all season. And considering Nottingham Forest are the only team to beat Liverpool, yeah, it's definitely going to be a hard game for Liverpool, and I could see this being a draw. But you know what? You could say Nottingham Forest, you won the last game 3-0 against Wolves. When I was watching that, if Strent Larsen actually had a bit of direction on the headers and from the shots, and if there was a bit more quality in that striker position, I still feel like Strent Larsen is a good player. It will come for experience. But if it had a bit more quality, then I think Wolves could have went 2-3-1 ahead, especially in that first half. And Nottingham Forest were giving away the ball quite a bit in the first half. But again, Nuno Espirito Santos, he does some brilliant stuff. Sometimes it feels like Nottingham Forest, surely they're going to be 2-3-1 down for the amount of crosses that get crossed in. But his game plan works to perfection, and they defend at the right time, they attack at the right time. And it's really, really good by Nottingham Forest. So it's going to be close. But as I was saying, all they need is that extra quality, Wolves, and they could have got something. But Liverpool, if we put Liverpool in Wolverhampton Wanderers' shoes, Liverpool 100% can and will win this, because they've got not just 1 or 2 players that can run in behind the defence, they've got 3, 4, 5 players to run in behind the defence at immense pace. And considering Nottingham Forest concede loads of crosses and Liverpool want to bounce back and they're fighting for this title race, I think Liverpool can get something, and they will get more chances than Wolves and be more clinical. But I'm only going for 1 goal, as Matt Sells is a brilliant goalkeeper. 1-0 to Liverpool come the final whistle, as Liverpool is a step up to Wolves. Moving over to St James's Park, it's Newcastle United versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I just spoke about how good Wolverhampton Wanderers are and was against Nottingham Forest. The triangle football was brilliant. The 2 Gomez's, they were brilliant. I'm talking about the first half here. And they looked ruthless and aggressive going forward, running in behind the defence, making cross after cross after cross. And Strand Larsen could have had a hat-trick in that game. And I thought they were quite unlucky for it to be 3-0 Nottingham Forest. And coming into this game, I'm a bit scared because the way I saw Wolves play were brilliant against Nottingham Forest. And the fact that Matheus Cunha is now going to be back from suspension in this game, it's definitely going to be a tough one for Newcastle. And I don't think Newcastle are going to get a clean sheet. And I think Wolves are going to score a goal. But Newcastle, they're on fire though. I'm sorry, Wolves, but even with Cunha back, Newcastle are just too good. I mean, you could say Sven Botman straight away coming into the side is a bit risky by Eddie Howe after he suffered with like an ACL, whatever it is. He did look a bit rusty, but he also looked good at the same time. And then eventually as the game progressed, the rustiness went and he did really good to defend the likes of Solanke. It was only really when Solanke scored that he should have done better, and a few other times. But now Sven Botman, he had a good game other than the rusty moments near the start. He's back in the starting lineup. And in my opinion, it's probably an easy opponent against Wolves. It's not going to be easy. I think it's probably going to be 1-1 at one point. But Alexander Isak, different kettle of fish. The midfield free, the balance is sorted at Newcastle. Eddie Howe's done a great job. 3-1 Newcastle United. Sorry Wolves, but Newcastle are cooking something special. Moving over to Goodison Park, Everton versus Aston Villa. Now, I want to go for 0-0, but I'm pretty sure I've gone for a 0-0 scoreline for Everton for the last 2, 3, 4 games. So I'm not going to do that. I backed them up the last 2 games. I'm not going to back them up again. I think they do have an amazing goalkeeper in Jordan Pickford. They've got a brilliant defence. But when they actually try and go for it and not sit back and have that low block and go on counters, when they try and really go for it, they are terrible and they lose the game, like they did against Nottingham Forest. So I think Aston Villa can definitely win it, especially John Duran and Morgan Rogers returning from their suspensions. Oh my God, Aston Villa are gonna destroy Everton. I think it won't be like a destroy. It'll be a 2-0 win towards Aston Villa, but it'll be a decently comfortable game. Aston Villa will find it hard to break that amazing defence. But honestly, Everton, you can't finish your beans. Wait a minute, Sean Dyche has been sacked. This is some big news for Everton. In my opinion, I understand why he's being sacked. Because Everton are 16th and all Sean Dyche will be able to do is keep Everton up and keep them maybe as high as 13th. But I assume they want him to be sacked so they can actually excel, into the top half. Because I don't think Sean Dyche is going to be able to do that. I think it's a bit risky considering it's halfway through the season and he's already got the flow of things, Sean Dyche. I would understand if it's the start of a new season where you're not risking anything and you've got pre-season with a new manager and new instructions and tactics. But here, I think it's the wrong decision, as Everton could be worse off without Sean Dyche, as it will break the flow and what Sean Dyche built, but it's not going to change my prediction for this game. To the King Power Stadium, Leicester City versus Crystal Palace. Leicester City, you could say they're already relegated. I mean, they're in 19th. They've lost the last 5 games in the Premier League, and Ruud van Nistelrooy has got 4 points in 7 games. If Leicester kept Steve Cooper, they'll probably have the same. And honestly, they could have got a point against Aston Villa, but they didn't. As simple as that. They were the worst team versus Aston Villa. They are a worse team than Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace are tons better than Leicester City in terms of quality. And I've credited Crystal Palace. They've been brilliant in the last 9 games in the Premier League. And they got a crucial point against Chelsea. Brilliant again by Crystal Palace, and I've been really impressed with them throughout the entire season, even when they weren't getting results. I see nothing but a Crystal Palace win. 2-1 Crystal Palace. I will make it a bit tight because I feel like Leicester are going to have a bit of fight, but Crystal Palace surely are winning this. Moving to the Emirates Stadium, it's the Gunners versus the Spuds, the sack of potatoes, Tottenham Hotspur. And Tottenham, I don't think you had a terrible game against Newcastle. In fact, there's been a few games like that where you've actually played pretty well. You started off the game brilliant against Newcastle. You were toe-to-toe with Newcastle and you capitalised the rustiness of Sven Botman from a great diving header by Dominic Solanke. And honestly, you played some great football. And Tottenham Hotspur, well done on your 1-0 win versus Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. Obviously, there were some controversial refereeing decisions. I won't get into that, but nonetheless, it was a good performance, and you're the second team this season to take down Liverpool. Congratulations. But it is a kind of Tottenham thing to do, to be playing terrible and then take on the best team in the Premier League and win it. That is so Tottenham. The inconsistency is crazy. But you have to admit, before that game, they've been pretty consistently bad in terms of results. But there has been signs. And I think soon in the Premier League, results are going to be coming along. But going into this game at the Emirates Stadium and knowing how Spuds are, they could easily win against Liverpool, but then just lose the last game and completely forget all the good stuff that happened in that game. That is so Tottenham, and that could easily happen again. So Arsenal are probably going to find it easier against Tottenham after their defence, yes, did do well to get a clean sheet against Liverpool, but normally isn't fantastic. And without the main key defenders in there, I think Arsenal can capitalise. And unlike last game for Arsenal in the Cup, when they faced Newcastle and they struggled to break that defence and they struggled to be clinical because I think they probably need a proper number 9 striker, which they still don't have, I still feel like they can get some goals against Tottenham because they can be leaky. And for what I've said. Also, I can't imagine Tottenham at any point doing what Newcastle did. That game plan that Newcastle did against Arsenal, I cannot see happening. Plus, I thought Liverpool at least deserved a point against Tottenham. And Arsenal, they didn't play terrible against Newcastle. Maybe other people think differently, but I thought they gave a good shift. Obviously, Newcastle were better though, because they won the game and the defence was brilliant and the midfield was brilliant. I think if they can create the amount of chances they did there, they're going to be able to get a few more clear-cut chances against Tottenham. I could be wrong, but I think Tottenham will give it a good shift. But I think Arsenal is going to be too tough for them. Another tough opponent. And I think Arsenal are going to win this 2-0 after they are in second. And throughout the entire season, they have been better than Spuds. And Spuds are currently in mid-table. And we know Spuds could win against the best and then lose the next game. Over to Portman Road. Ipswich Town versus Brighton and Hove Albion. Ipswich, well done for getting a 2-2 draw. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy around that yellow card that could have been a red card. I can see both sides of it going either way. I think it's the inconsistency, really, of those decisions in the Premier League that someone like Marco Silva doesn't like. But still, Ipswich played well. And they've brought in Ben Godfrey, former Everton player, back to the Premier League from Atalanta. I don't know whether he's going to start in this game, but you can see they're starting to be a bit busy, Ipswich. They're wanting to get the best chance possible to stay up by bringing in Ben Godfrey. Ipswich is really making it hard for people like me to predict whether they're going to stay up or not. And facing Brighton, you know what? I feel like a draw is going to happen. Ipswich, they've got a draw against Fulham. And Ipswich, the fact that they got a point against Fulham, the fact they managed to get 3 points against Champions League contesters Chelsea, they've proven enough to me so they can get a point here at Portman Road as well against Brighton. Especially that Brighton, they most probably will dominate this game, but in Brighton fashion, they won't be able to get that extra goal, get the winning goal. That is the main problem with Brighton. They can play well, they can dominate, but they never can get that winning goal. I think it's going to be 1-1. I mean, think about it. Brighton have drew their last 4 games as well. So I definitely can see a 1-1 draw happening again. Over to the 8 p.m. kickoff on the 16th of January. Old Trafford is hosting this one. It's Manchester United versus Southampton. Sorry, Southampton. I've got one word to describe you. Sham diddly bollock. They could possibly break Derby County's record for the least points gained in a Premier League season. It could 100% happen. They're halfway through the season, they've got 6 points. They only need to get 10 points to beat it or 11 points to join with Derby County. And it could definitely happen, performances like that. And then on the other hand, Man United, wow. Absolutely wow. I knew Ugarte and Bruno Fernandes will make a massive difference coming into it. I even said it. But I said it'll be 5-0 to Liverpool. But then I changed my mind to say it 3-0 to Liverpool because of Ugarte and Bruno Fernandes coming back. But those two, Ugarte, he was so aggressive. He was brilliant. The amount of tackles he made, how sharp and energetic all Man United players were. Bruno Fernandes, out of this world. But it's the passion and the direction where Man United players want to go in that game that I liked the most. The whole defence worked. Mazraoui, one of the best fullbacks this season in my opinion, even when they've been bad. I've been waffling on here, but that was Man United's best game this season by a long shot. 4-0 Manchester United. No way Southampton getting nothing against Man United. After all that waffle malarkey, it's time to move on to my goal of Game Week 20, and I'm giving it to David Brooks. Great hold up by Semenyo to get the ball for Bournemouth. Great run and cross by Kirkes. And a great first time half volley finish by David Brooks. But how's it to do? in game week 20. The fancy graphic is back, and I got 5 points. It's not terrible, but it's meh. It's not good. Not as good as my previous 2 weeks, but it's not terrible. Let's move that out of the side. And overall, that puts me on 110 points out of 398 points. You know what? I'm quite happy how the last 3 weeks have gone with my predictions, and I'm hoping you're very happy wherever you are. Hopefully you're having a great new year, because I am, especially with Newcastle playing fantastic. Check out this next video that I'm about to show you. Toodle pip!